Gandhi wanted an independent, peaceful India that protected religious freedom. But that was challenged by growing Muslim and Hindu nationalism.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down world leaders in history who were assassinated while in office or holding power. So this excludes some significant figures like Franz Ferdinand.
Abraham Lincoln was assassinated 5 days after Lee surrenders to Grant. So there is a great deal of uncertainty at that time.
Number 10. Park Chung-hee. On October 26, 1979, South Korea faced a pivotal moment in history with the assassination of President Park Chung-hee by his own intelligence chief, Kim Jae-gyu.
According to the memoir by former President Chun Doo-hwan, Kim disclosed his three-stage assassination project planned to kill Park and take over his power.
Park's rule, which began in 1961 following a military coup, was marked by significant economic development that propelled South Korea into the modern era. However, his tenure was also characterized by authoritarian practices, including the suppression of democratic opposition. The assassination, occurring amidst a private dinner, was a shocking end to nearly 2 decades of iron-fisted leadership and led to political upheaval. It precipitated a brief period of uncertainty, eventually paving the way for the country's transition towards democracy. Park's legacy remains complex, embodying both South Korea's economic ascent and its struggles for political freedom.
Koreans are still left to carry on its way to democracy with lessons from the past.
Number 9. William McKinley. The dawn of the 20th century witnessed a tragedy that would forever alter the course of the American presidency. On September 6, 1901, President William McKinley fell victim to a bullet while attending the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York. An advocate for protective tariffs and a proponent of American imperialism, McKinley's tenure was pivotal in expanding America's global influence, notably through the Spanish-American War. The assailant, Leon Czolgosz, an anarchist, approached him under the guise of a handshake, firing 2 shots that would not immediately claim McKinley's life, but led to his death 8 days later due to gangrene from the wounds.
McKinley's death also confirmed the real fear that U.S. presidents would be targeted for political assassinations, spurring the expansion of the Secret Service to officially include protecting our nation's leaders.
His death thrust Theodore Roosevelt into the presidency, signaling a dramatic shift in American politics and policy.
He was the youngest president in American history, just 42 years old.
Number 8. Anwar Sadat.
Anwar Sadat, peacemaker of Egypt, killed in a military assassination.
In a moment that shocked the world, Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, was killed on October 6, 1981 during the annual Victory Parade in Cairo.
According to the official Middle East news agency, President Sadat was dead on arrival at Mahdi Military Hospital here in Cairo.
Sadat's bold efforts to achieve peace in the Middle East, especially through the 1979 Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty, had earned him both the Nobel Peace Prize and many enemies. His policies, which included economic reforms and a historic visit to Israel, were a significant departure from his predecessors, aiming to realign Egypt with the West. The assassination, carried out by members of the Egyptian Islamic Jihad opposed to his initiatives with Israel, resulted in a tragic end to a leader whose actions had dramatically altered the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East.
I believe no one will take 1 hour of my life if God doesn't agree to this.
Today, for Anwar Sadat, that hour came.
Number 7. Yitzhak Rabin.
Truly shocking news from the Middle East tonight. Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin has been assassinated.
Evening spent dreaming of peace turns into a national nightmare.
And here's another political tragedy in the Middle East. On November 4th, 1995, Yitzhak Rabin, the Prime Minister of Israel, was killed by Yigal Amir, a right-wing extremist opposed to the Oslo Accords. Rabin, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, was instrumental in forging the historic peace agreement with the Palestine Liberation Organization, aimed at ending decades of conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. The shooting occurred after a rally in Tel Aviv where Rabin had expressed his hope for peace in the region.
That's him coming down the ramp. The man in the blue t-shirt approached.
The killing of Rabin not only deprived Israel and the Middle East of a key architect of coexistence, but also deepened the divide within Israeli society.
There is here in English a memorial as well. It says, "Peace shall be his legacy."
Number 6. Olafppe. The assassination of Olof Palme on February 28, 1986, plunged Sweden into a state of profound shock and mourning.
A man both loved and hated at home and abroad, Palme was shot and killed on Stockholm's busiest street.
Walking home from a cinema in Stockholm with his wife, without any bodyguard protection, an emblem of his and Sweden's open society, Palme, the Prime Minister, was shot in the back by an unknown assailant.
The hunt to find his killer has been as notorious in Sweden as his assassination.
His tenure had been notable with strong stances on social justice, anti-apartheid, and disarmament, making him a prominent figure on the world stage and, to some, a controversial one.
His anti-colonial and anti-racist views made him a fierce critic of global superpowers. While at home, he raised taxes to fund the welfare state and welcomed immigrants.
The murder, which remains unsolved, has left a lingering shadow over Swedish politics and society, symbolizing not only the vulnerability of public figures, but also the end of an era of innocence for Sweden. Number 5. Laurent-Désiré Kabila.
Laurent Kabila was killed on the 16th of January 2001 in circumstances that remain clouded. He is now portrayed as a martyr.
Laurent-Désiré Kabila's tenure as president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo abruptly ended on January 16, 2001, when he was murdered by one of his bodyguards. Kabila, who had come to power in 1997 by overthrowing the long-standing dictator Mobutu Sese Seko, was a central figure in the complex web of conflicts that plagued the DRC during the late 20th century.
He came into power with an army of child soldiers trained by neighboring Rwanda.
His leadership included efforts to end foreign exploitation of the country's vast mineral resources, though his rule was also criticized for authoritarian tendencies and human rights abuses. The circumstances of his death reflect the turbulent political environment of the DRC, with speculation about the involvement of various domestic and foreign interests in his death. Number 4. Julius Caesar. The Ides of March 44 BC remains one of history's most infamous dates, marking the assassination of Julius Caesar, a pivotal figure whose leadership transformed the Roman Republic.
Caesar was invited into the Senate room just a few meters from here. As he went to sit down, the plotters struck.
Caesar's dictatorial style, marked by significant reforms and territorial expansion, earned him both admiration and deep-seated resentment within the Senate. Viewing his consolidation of power as a threat to the Republic's democratic traditions, a group of senators led by Brutus and Cassius conspired against him. Caesar was ambushed and stabbed to death at a Senate meeting, a betrayal by those he considered allies.
All 23 plotters were hacking and stabbing in such a frenzy that some of them even stabbed each other.
The act sparked a series of civil wars, leading to the demise of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire under Augustus, Caesar's adopted heir.
The Republic was never restored, and in his honor, his successors were known as Caesar.
Number 3. John F. Kennedy.
A flash from Dallas. 2 priests who were with President Kennedy say he is dead of bullet wounds.
On November 22, 1963, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, sent shockwaves around the world. Kennedy was infamously struck down by Lee Harvey Oswald's bullets while riding in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas. His presidency, though brief, included significant moments in the Cold War era, including the Cuban Missile Crisis, the space race, and early initiatives for civil rights reforms. Kennedy's death not only ended a presidency filled with hope and potential, but also heralded the beginning of a tumultuous period in American history, characterized by more political killings, social upheaval, and skepticism towards government institutions. The event, shrouded in conspiracy theories, has been meticulously analyzed, but remains a defining moment of the 20th century.
The assassination shook the nation and the Secret Service.
Number 2. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The murder of Gandhi on January 30th, 1948, stands as a profound tragedy in the annals of history. Known as the Mahatma, or Great Soul, Gandhi was the architect of India's independence movement against British rule, employing non-violent civil disobedience that inspired movements for civil rights and freedom across the world.
Gandhi wanted an independent, peaceful India that protected religious freedom. But that was challenged by growing Muslim and Hindu nationalism.
His assassin, Nathuram Godse, a Hindu nationalist, opposed Gandhi's efforts to achieve peace between Hindus and Muslims during the partition of India. The murder, occurring during a prayer meeting in the garden of Birla House, New Delhi, plunged India into despair and highlighted the deep-seated religious and cultural divisions within the country.
He was assassinated by a Hindu nationalist who believed Gandhi had been too accommodating to Muslims during the partition.
Gandhi's legacy of non-violence and his philosophy of peaceful resistance continue to influence global movements.
Around 1 million people turned out for his funeral.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications.
Number 1. Abraham Lincoln.
About 10 minutes after 10, Booth began to mount the stairs leading up to the second tier of boxes where you would find President Lincoln.
The evening of April 14, 1865, witnessed the shocking assassination of Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln, a figure of monumental significance in American history, led the nation through its Civil War, preserving the Union and emancipating the slaves. His killer, John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer, aimed to revive the Confederate cause by eliminating the man he viewed as the principal obstacle to the South's independence.
It was essentially to accomplish what the Confederacy had failed to accomplish on the battlefield, and that was to win the war.
Lincoln's death came just days after the Confederate surrender at Appomattox Courthouse, turning a moment of national relief and joy into one of profound grief. The aftermath of Lincoln's death deeply affected the course of Reconstruction and the evolution of the United States, leaving an incredible mark on the nation's collective memory.
Abraham Lincoln was assassinated 5 days after Lee surrenders to Grant. So there is a great deal of uncertainty at that time.
Are there other important leaders who should be included here? Let us know in the comments.
John F. Kennedy died at approximately 1 o'clock Central Standard Time today here in Dallas.